What do you have here? Caleb Maupin with Webster Tarpley, former LaRouche candidate who's advocating imprisoning HIV patients. With the sign, "Welcome Putin the Peacemaker, Tax Wall Street Party." All right. What does Caleb Maupin's hero have to say?
And anybody who denies that casual transmission of AIDS is a fact is simply a liar. All of the official institutions that are now loudly denying the fact of casual transmission know very well that it can be casually transmitted. This can be done by insects, by respiratory transmission.
Wait, what? Did you say insects? Did you just say insects? Are you on television right now? During the AIDS crisis, saying that casual transmission can occur between humans via insects? Is this the same person that Caleb Maupin decided it was a good idea to be in a rally with? Oh my! What a rabbit hole! Some of you may already know some of this stuff. I learned a world of things the other day from this. I don't know if you were all paying attention, but the Center for Political Innovation, aka the Caleb Maupin Empire, decided to throw one of the largest collections ever of what some people call the clown shoes left, what some people call the authoritarian left, what some people call the far-right fash left, what some people call the national Bolsheviks, what some people call, there's many names. Tinkies. They go by many names on the internet. Anyways, kind of faux communists, let's just say that, the pseudo-intellectuals. But there was a conference that collected all of them, and it was a thing. We had a lot of laughs. We really did, right? Oh, how we laughed. So this is the actual intro video that apparently played on whatever projector they rented at the very start of it, I'm Solidarity video. It's 31 minutes long, so I'm not going to show you the whole thing. I'm going to show you some of the faces that were in it.
Last summer on the East.
So this is what would have happened. This would have come on
Comrades
to
and friends, it's a tremendous honor and pleasure to greet you all and welcome you to the CPI conference happening this weekend in Texas. I had the tremendous honor of being at the CPI gathering last summer on the East Coast, sending a warmest greetings and solidarity to all the comrades there and to all the new ones who are gathering today. A warm greetings and welcome. And so sorry I can't be with you this weekend. It's my daughter's first birthday, but it's a beautiful winter day here in Vermont, and it's also lambing season.
I want to point this out because this one is just hilarious. This is from the Center for Political Innovation. They were like Marxist literature at the CPI conference. These are mostly Caleb Maupin's books. Don't get me wrong, there is some Marxist literature there, and good on you for both printing and trying to profit off stuff that is actually in the public domain. But anyways, do as you will. I'm not gonna shit on anyone for trying to sell their books, but don't throw in fucking BreadTube serves imperialism as a legitimate Marxist literature. Like, are you kidding me? This is your drama book, Caleb. This is the book that you made because you were getting tired of people making fun of you online. And you were like, I'll destroy them all in the only way I know how. Overpriced literature. And then like a lot ooh, getting rich without capitalists. Caleb Maupin. Oh, interesting. Jesus is a socialist. Who wrote that one? Caleb Maupin. Oh, another Caleb Maupin. Oh, and we do have Custom Reality and You, which of course is Peter Coffin's book. They will remind you that they wrote a book, so there's that too. You do have The State and Revolution over here, Wages and Profit by Karl Marx. Again, both in the public domain, but for sale. Yeah, for fun and profit. You can also just go, by the way, to Marxist.org, and all the literature is there for free, as it should be. It's there for you all to enjoy. So there's that. Anyways, I'm not sure who this individual is. Very cute animals in the background. Tara Reid is there. Oh, of course, Max Blumenthal. Can't forget. What does Max have to say?
Long live CPI.
Hey everybody, it's Max.
Long lives CPI. Hail CPI. Hail the Center for Political Innovation.
Max Blumenthal. Just wanted to send a quick message of support to my friend Caleb Maupin, who I've known for several years now, working together in the media.
By the way, Caleb loves making these, eh? He loves getting these kind of like, it's basically like their gray zone online left celebrity version of those celebrity videos. The ones like, imagine there's no heaven. Everything's gonna be okay. You know, because the A-listers, we're here to tell you everything's all right. He likes making those and getting people to make it. Like, he got one made where everyone was like, stop lying about Caleb Maupin. Stop lying about Caleb Maupin. Stop lying about Caleb Maupin. Like, I was like, this is, wow. And they all agreed to do this, that take time out of their days to record this for you. And then in the middle, you got them to do a book sales push again, because that's a really big thing he likes to do. But then in the middle of it, it's just like, read his books. Why don't you try reading his books? Hey, have you thought of reading his books? You know, and you're like, wow, okay, well, they're willing to do this. So Max Blumenthal, no surprise there.
Caleb is under attack. He has had his personal Twitter account.
Okay, I haven't watched this thing in its entirety. I was just fast forwarding through it this morning to try and see who was going to be in the collection, but I didn't know that Max did that right away. Caleb, do you give them instructions? It's like, okay, Max, can you record something for the CPI? It's like, oh yeah, sure. I'll just off the cuff. It's like, no. There are very specific things I want you to talk about. All right, and you are going to talk about them. Okay, talk about how I have been attacked. Talk about how BreadTube serves imperialism, and they're coming after me. Okay.
Now labeled as Russian state media. The company he works for has been banned internationally by...
What happened to Jason Unruhi? Oh, Jason Unruhi, that he has started his own war with this crew as well. They all hate each other. That we did that whole segment on the Tanky Wars not too long ago. Infrared despises Jason Unruhi. Haas and him fight all the time, both on Twitter and you know, online and stuff like that. I mean, Jason's mostly irrelevant. He's got a completely dead and decayed channel, right? He just occasionally will post a new video, and it's very unusual. They vary in their pageantry. Let's just say, like in the olden days, he used to get dolled up. You know, he would put on costumes, be like, I want to look like a hybrid of Bowser and that guy from the zombie show, and then you'd get out there and be like, yeah, the third world Maoist here to present you, and you're just like, oh, it's a white dude yelling at the camera. But anyways, he's lost a lot of that. You know, that's the whole thing.
The major social media platform, and he is being attacked because of his clear, principled opposition to NATO's assault on Russia and on any country that opposes its...
Okay, so a lot of internet personalities have runaway egos, okay? And a lot of internet personalities do not listen to constructive criticism or feedback. Massive problem, huge problem. But I will submit to you, even in this age right now where we have all this drama going on Twitter, no one takes it to the same heights as Caleb does. You got to give him credit for that, okay? Because where some people would say, Caleb, yeah, it's kind of transphobic for you to platform this person and not push back at all when she's talking about trans ideology, spooky trans ideology, and then to do a rebuttal to that by saying, I just don't know. I don't know, and I refuse to learn. So I don't have an opinion on trans ideology, okay? So if people call you out for that, that's not them saying that, hey, I'm angry at you for your NATO stance. There's no correlation. If people call you out, Caleb, for your well-documented anti-Semitism, and I'm not saying just because you love using the term bankers. I know that's the one you're trying to... No, because you wrote an anti-Semitic book called Satan at the Fountainhead, and what little copies of it remain, people have read out, it's deeply, deeply anti-Semitic, okay? You like intentionally use people's like old Jewish names when they don't use them themselves in their own like publishing and press because you wanted to add just a little bit of extra to your novel. Like that stuff is all documented. You've given entire speeches where you talk about a global cabal of bankers invested in usury and like it's just like dog sirens. All that being said, all of it, everything I just said, right, has nothing to do with NATO. And he will take all that criticism and be like, there is a plot to assassinate me. There is a concerned team of BreadTube assassins. The BreadTube assassins and the consortium, of which there are many members. Hassan Piker, Vosh, a lot of different figures in there. Thought Slime as well. All of them meet on a regular basis, and TYT, and then the Majority Report. They meet on a regular basis, and they're headed by Kyle Kalinske, and he sits there and he gives them mission commands, and that's why they're sending assassins after. Like, no one in their right mind takes criticism and feedback and goes in that direction, right? Like there's a lot of internet personalities who just don't listen, who are just like, wow, everyone is telling me I'm wrong. They're wrong. There's a lot of people who do that, and that fucking sucks. It's brutal. But Caleb, Caleb will write a book. He'll turn the whole thing into a novel, you know? It's pretty wild. It gets everyone to support him. Tara Reid is in there. I don't know who this person is. I don't care to know. Oh, and look, it's the trans ideology. It's a trans ideology person. Yeah, she's in the opening video. Caleb's definitely distanced himself a lot. The opening video for the CPI Austin conference.
Fresh proofs that this reorganization is desperately needed on a yearly, a monthly, even on a daily basis. The COVID-19 pandemic highlighted just how brutal.
Okay, cool. That's not really what I want to learn. So that was it. There's also this other thing that came out of this. Apparently, everyone is really mad at whoever this individual is. And I've seen multiple people, like Haz was doing a video on them, reacting to an unhinged leftist.
Purple Maggot, as we're going to call them, we don't know their name, was sitting. They were one of the people that we thought were kind of sketchy, might be a red guard, but they weren't trying anything, so we just kind of left them in.
Yeah, if they had disrupted, we would have just booted their ass out of there, but, they didn't.
They didn't. They didn't.
Just sat there politely. So.
And then.
I love how they take themselves so seriously too. Like, don't get me wrong. I don't think, honestly, that the Center for Political Innovation is posing a genuine threat to the leverages of power. I am not calling out the powerful right now. These people are deeply, deeply hilarious to me, and I do want to continue to do coverage of them for that reason. And I'm going to be very transparent about it as well. Okay, this is not highbrow. This is not my best work. This is certainly not me explaining to you about everything that is wrong in the world. And people should be incredibly critical of, you know, things like NATO's actions in supporting the Saudi Arabian war in Yemen, NATO's actions in Libya. NATO has done a lot of horrifying and terrible things. The American empire, American imperialism, all things that should be called out and stuff. These people are not those who control the levers of power, and they do not pose a legitimate threat to the levers of power. As much as Caleb likes to say right now that he's being politically persecuted because he's the only person who's willing to speak to the truth to power, I just think it's so amazing that a character like this has built a little mini empire, you know? Like, it's really a sign of the times, because, and thinks of himself as like a thought leader, as a great writer, I mean, he's compared himself to Martin Luther King Jr. before, especially in the way he's being persecuted, like, and the smugness, you know, that just, oh yeah, we would have thrown them right out. Of course, no, we don't allow infiltrators, not in our movement.
You know, they have a video afterwards when they had some interesting remarks. I think they might be a Vosh fan for one reason. They're wearing a t-shirt that I've seen Vosh wear before.
Okay, so should we trigger warning the audience before this video?
Trigger warning.
If you were offended by crazy people screaming, you probably shouldn't listen. You should
Okay, I get it. Trigger warnings are hilarious because they're for the woke SJWs, but not us. We're the hardline conservatives who don't get pissed off. By the way, again, yet another example of someone who is so thin-skinned. Caleb blocks everyone. Like, many of you watching right now are probably blocked by Caleb Maupin on the interwebs. He blocked me immediately. I was like back in the day trying to have a debate with Caleb Maupin, and we even had a little email back and forth exchange, and immediately he just went off to like, you are spreading like FBI conspiracy theories about me. You are filth. I will never interact with you, and all this shit. I was like, what? What? Oh, you mean me posting your own videos? That thing? Yeah. I don't do that under anyone's payroll. I do that because you're horrible and it's funny to me. That's why. There's no Soros checks, no CIA checks coming in here. Those are the two reasons.
probably put your microphone on mute because you're about to hear a lot of cringe, crazy screaming. But this is the reaction of a crazy radlib to our amazing conference. You ready for this?
Radlib.
Roll it.
Reminder, they're not leftists. Fuck! Why do we have to talk about this? It's so fucking obvious. They don't like the shit that leftists in America do. They think that Putin is justified. They think that it's fucking awesome what he's doing in Ukraine when they're not denying what he's doing in Ukraine. They aren't leftists. They don't care about you. They care about pretty pictures. The fucking bust that was there was from a Communist Party USA event where Stalin and Lenin's portraits lined to the stage. There's a Soviet flag, an American flag on the stage. They held hands as the Communist International played, followed by the national anthem.
All
on
true.
stage, holding those flags. They're nationalists! Holy
All right, so
Okay, all right.
let's break that down for us. Oh, Keaton's got a quick message.
Caleb, I figured you might need that for your eyes.
Oh, what is this?
Cleaning.
Please tell me you had that ready to go for this bit. And then after we play the video, you can hand me bleach. You'll hand me bleach, and then I'll pretend I don't know what it's for, and then I'll look at it, and then I'll be like, oh yes, I need to bleach my eyes because of what it'll slay. Trust me, I know our audience.
Cleaning vinegar for my eyes.
Oh, I'm sorry, vinegar. Yeah, they didn't go as far as bleach.
Free? Oh, streak free.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. All right, Keaton will be on later, by the way, so we're gonna have Keaton on. But so let's react to that, Lily. What did we just see there?
Well, all right. There were a lot of really concise, intelligent, cohesive arguments. That was extremely unhinged.
He loves his sugary, syrupy drinks. He's always enjoying some juice and some cola. He's a big fan of that sugar. We're not here today to talk about Caleb Maupin and the reactions to the CPI conference. I was just trying to tell you a little bit about what happened, because here's an interesting thing, and this is what sent me down an amazing rabbit hole, and I can't wait to share it with all of you. Caleb Maupin uploaded this new video called "Jackson Hinkle Describes the CPI Austin Conference."
Yesterday, I spoke along with a handful of other incredible individuals. We spoke at the Center for Political Innovation, Caleb Maupin's
The Center.
Political think tank, political conference, Free America from Neoliberal Empire conference in Austin, Texas. Now, if you are wondering, you're wondering maybe like Caleb Maupin, Center for Political Innovation.
Hey, Balthazar.
Caleb
Thank you for the
Maupin
$5.
meltdowns are the best.
Oh, we're just getting started. Wait until we get to the strange, because things are going to get so bizarre. We're going to get to Alex Jones territory very soon.
Jackson Hinkle, Samir Khan, Haas of the Infrared Show, Daniel Burke, Schiller Institute.
There it is. And that was the moment. When I heard Daniel Burke, Schiller Institute, I was like, wait, why is my spidey sense tingling? Or Lancy sense, or whatever you want to call it. I immediately went sleuthing on the internet, because I was actually making this face. I was like, wait a minute, something is going on. This sounds like we may have a crossover. We may have a crossover with the one and only, and if you've not heard of him, prepare yourselves for the story of Lyndon LaRouche. Yes, things are gonna get real weird with it. So, I'm going to give you a quick background. First, to the Schiller Institute. The Schiller Institute is a German-based political and economic think tank founded by Helga Sepp LaRouche. It was stated members in 50 countries. It is amongst the most principled organizations of the LaRouche movement. The Institute's stated aims is to apply the ideas of the poet and philosopher Friedrich Schiller to what it calls contemporary world crises. The Constitution, adopted in 1984, rails against international financial institutions and other supranational bodies. Supranational bodies, without naming for any causing a state of tyranny in the world, especially amongst developing nations. Sound familiar? The website of the Schiller Institute includes transcripts of conferences that the Institute has sponsored throughout North and South America, Europe, Asia, Africa, and Australia to promote the idea that it calls peace through development. The discussions of these conferences centers around LaRouche's proposal for the infrastructure projects such as the Eurasian Land Bridge and the Oasis Plan, a Middle East peace agreement based on, water projects, proposals, debt relief, blah, blah, blah. Oh, sorry, here's the part. Allegations of anti-Semitism arose in 2003 following the death of Jeremiah Dugan, a student who has been attending their conferences in Germany. The Schiller Institute was accused of spreading anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. An international London Metropolitan Police Scotland Yard letter obtained by the BBC's Newsnight during the British investigation into the death says the Schiller Institute and the LaRouche youth movement blames the Jewish people for the Iraq War and all the problems of the world. Jeremiah's lecture notes and the bulletin showed the anti-Semitic nature of the ideology. The German newspaper Berliner Zeitung characterizes the Schiller Institute as anti-Semitic. Now, I'm gonna be completely frank. I think Jackson Hinkle has bitten off more than he can chew. I don't think Jackson Hinkle, like, he's doing a speed run in his political beliefs. And I think everyone's kind of witnessed that in real time, right? It was only a couple years ago that he was basically an I'm with her, Hillary Democrat kind of a guy, evolved into a Bernie Sanders Democrat kind of a guy, and then started hating the squad, and then turned into more of a I hate the squad. You know what? Maybe I'm a leftist and I'm an anti-imperialist leftist. That's it. And then he evolved from that, either through his friendship with Haas, into I am now a Marxist-Leninist. Yes, I'm a proud Marxist-Leninist. I'm a communist. Like, we actually have the video footage where he wants to rip off the DSA badge on his shirt because someone is like, hey, did you notice you have like a DSA badge? He's like, yes, and it disgusts me, and I want you to send me a communism badge. Like, we've seen the evolution happen in real time, right? I don't think he knows what he's palling around with here. I don't. I think everything is just fun and games because online, right? Here's a crew of people who are really big on shitting on the libs. And who doesn't love shitting on the libs? I love shitting on the libs. Shitting on the libs is a great practice. Everyone should do it more. Engage on lib shitting. But there's also some crossovers here that might get a little bit weird, you know? I thought he was just doing whatever pays. Well, I don't know. I think at this point he's kind of hanging out with people and it just feels like fun. The LaRouche movement is a political and cultural network promoted by late Lyndon LaRouche and his ideas. It includes many organizations and companies around the world which campaign, gather information, and publish books and periodicals. It's been called cult-like by the New York Times. The movement originated with the radical leftist student politics of the 1960s. In the 1970s and 1980s, hundreds of candidates ran in state Democratic primaries in the United States on the LaRouche platform. And then I was like, wow, if you don't know about Lyndon LaRouche, and you don't know about the stories of Lyndon LaRouche, it was wild how big this stuff blew up. Not in that he became a very prominent political figure, in that his ideas and his movement, and this is, in a lot of ways, a lot of the inspiration for people you will see in the modern era, like Alex Jones's, people you will see like Glenn Beck's, the ones who like having giant chalkboards of conspiracies where you can just point and like you get to look at all the lines and stuff like that. Check this out.
Rumors began swirling last night that American agitator Lyndon LaRouche had passed away at age 96. That it was a rumor was fitting, because since the 1960s, LaRouche has been a pioneer of the conspiracy theory. LaRouche, whose political following bordered on a cult, ran for president 8 times, in between which he served prison time on federal mail fraud charges. His campaigns never had a shot at legitimacy.
Mondale is not simply a KGB agent in the ordinary sense, of course. Mondale is jointly owned by the left wing of the Socialist International and the grain cartel interests.
But they did cement LaRouche's role as the definition of the lunatic fringe in American politics. It's hard to pin down exactly what LaRouche believed, but it seemed to boil down to the idea of an all-consuming imperialist conspiracy led by the British Crown.
You heard that right. This keeps getting better and better. Yes, yes, the Queen! The Queen!
According to LaRouche's sprawling theory, the Queen is bent on reducing the global population as part of
Malthusianism. And again, you're going to be like, Lance, there's not an incredible correlation between one speaker at the Center for Political Innovation does not mean that Caleb Maupin and every single other person involved in this is into this, okay? And you would be right had that been the case, but I have more.
That dark plot, she orchestrated 9/11 through her Saudi proxies.
I mean, come on. As far as conspiracy theories go, that like there's some creativity going down here, okay? Suggesting that it's the Queen who was responsible for 9/11.
LaRouche never managed to have an impact on American policy, but his legacy lives on in the generation of semi-messianic conspiracy theorists who seem to have fashioned themselves in his image.
Hey, if we could just get the Green Movement and the unions and the social justice people together, we could control the world.
People wonder how someone like Alex Jones can get away with saying that Sandy Hook never happened.
They had the kids going in circles in and out of the building.
By the way, why are people like Jackson Hinkle and Caleb Maupin suddenly talking about how Alex Jones is right? That's starting to pop up right now too. I mean, you know, you're going to be like, well, Lance, you're putting on your own conspiracy theory hat here. I think you're reading too deep into this. There's not a direct correlation. Come on, between Caleb Maupin and LaRouche. You're not going to be able to prove that, okay? This was one speaker at the Center for Political Innovation. That's all there is. Fine. Challenge accepted.
As a photo op.
But it was LaRouche who proved that if you're emphatic enough, often enough, someone will start to believe you. LaRouche made his 2004 campaign his last. But lately his name has started to filter back into the news. The Steele dossier suggested that the Kremlin invited a LaRouche delegation to Moscow to enlist its help in spreading misinformation in 2016. And LaRouche himself had a friend in Trump world.
I am very familiar with the extraordinary and prophetic thinking of Lyndon LaRouche.
The LaRouche movement is now railing against impeaching Trump, in part because of a common enemy. Robert Mueller, the man going after the president, is the same Robert Mueller who, as a young federal prosecutor, put Lyndon LaRouche in prison. Under orders from the Queen, of course.
Oh, that Queen, I tell ya. I should have suspected it was the Queen all along. You know, it's like the end of a Scooby-Doo episode where the mask gets pulled up. It's like, oh my, it was the Queen this whole time. Interesting. Well, what do you have here? Caleb Maupin with Webster Tarpley, former LaRouche candidate who's advocating imprisoning HIV patients. With the sign, welcome Putin the Peacemaker, tax Wall Street Party. All right. Okay. All right. What does Caleb Maupin's hero have to say?
Now, Mr. Tarpley, it seems to me our doctors tell us that AIDS can be transmitted only through sexual contact or through mixing of our blood. Now, wait a minute. Mr. LaRouche says the opposite. He says that it can be transmitted through talking, as you and I are. Mr. LaRouche is not a doctor. Well, we're facing, in the case of AIDS, one of the biggest cover-ups and big lie campaigns in the history of science. This is a species-threatening disease. It's a disease that threatens to exterminate the human race as we've known it. And anybody who denies that casual transmission of AIDS is a fact is simply a liar. All of the official institutions that are now loudly denying the fact of casual transmission know very well that it can be casually transmitted. This can be done by insects, by respiratory transmission.
Wait, what? Did you say insects? Did you just say insects? Are you on television right now? During the AIDS crisis, saying that casual transmission can occur between humans via insects? Is this the same person that Caleb Maupin decided it was a good idea to be in a rally with? Oh my! What a rabbit hole!
By saliva and probably by other ways. Now, wait a minute. You are telling the public something that the Atlanta Disease Control Center says is absolutely wrong, and the surgeon...
Yeah, and I'll be honest, that's why you don't do this show. Like, if you're like, well, we do not know as much as we should yet about this. Obviously, there's a lot of questions based on the scientific body of knowledge that we do have. It turns out everything you're saying is certifiable. So, should we platform you now so you can tell the world about all these wild ideas? And that may directly involve people getting vilified as a result of it. So, there's that.
In general, the United States says is absolutely wrong. And I think, really, you ought to take back your words. The Atlanta Disease Control Center, the Centers for Disease Control, is not a scientific institution. It is a propaganda institution that's being subjected to a kind of new McCarthyism. Where any serious scientist, who wants to do real research into this is thrown out, as in the case of Gus Sermos. The orders are coming down from Don Regan in the White House.
One of the things that I think that's really interesting about this is that I was simply reading the pamphlet that Mr. LaRouche has been circulating through California, and I find it absolutely amazing that he seems to feel that the Center for Disease...
So anyways, long story short, they're like deeply horrifying people. Beyond the anti-Semitism is also, they had a very loud and vocal voice during the height of the AIDS crisis in which gay people were thoroughly vilified. And that's another huge yikesy thing that I didn't even know about. I only found that one out yesterday when I was going down this rabbit hole. Turns out, by the way, I'm not the first person to discover the LaRouche Caleb Maupin connections. It's kind of been, let's just say, documented for some time. Thanks to the Center for Global Research for reprinting my article on the U.S. on terrorism, propaganda, and global searches. Maupin also writes for globalresearch.ca himself below, the secret banking cabal, and has an article by Paul Joseph Watson down there as well. Hi, Paul Joseph Watson. Good to see you. You have written Austerity, the History of the Dangers. Oh, no, these are things that people should read. The Shock Doctrine by Naomi Klein. Cool. The Ugly Truth About Milton Friedman by Lyndon LaRouche. Wait, what? Listed below is Maupin, linking several times. There's more if you input the search term yourself on the website globalresearch.ca, a far-right conspiracy website that features, amongst others, Paul Joseph Watson, writing about a secret banking cabal controlling the world. Ah, interesting. The LaRoucheites borrowed a conspiracy theory element from various sources to produce their own Mancinian picture of the world history. Thousands of years, they argued the good humanists have been locked in a power struggle with a vast conspiracy of evil oligarchs. In ancient times, the oligarchic conspiracy was centered in Babylon, later shifted to Venice. In modern times, it was centered on Britain's royal house of Windsor. Ooh. This narrative evoked standard elements of anti-Semitic doctrine that the Jews had dominated ancient Babylon and that Jewish banking families controlled the British government. Also interesting. LaRouche.org, the summit in Europe cannot do, featuring Caleb Maupin. What are you doing there hanging out with LaRouche, Caleb? Interesting. Oh, some excerpts from the Israel lobby, Sounding at the Fountainhead and the Financial Crisis. Despite being unique with a specific heritage and legacy, all right, the people of the United States have no independent destiny. The result that is unfolding will not be a revolt merely of the people of one country against one set of opposition and tyrants. Rather, the coming insurrection is one that will involve people across the entire planet, okay, joining forces against the common enemy, the satanic cartel of prophet worshippers who are threatening the very continued existence of humanity. Interesting source of words you got in a book called The Israel Lobby and the Financial Crisis, Satan at the Fountainhead. Interesting choice of words for sure. The Israel Lobby is a dangerous group of crazed extremists and racists. The core of it are Zionist Jews who see themselves as racially superior to others and actively advocate and practice crimes against humanity. The Israeli government, with its proxy forces in the United States and elsewhere, is just one section of the wide cabal of criminal profiteers. Wow, controlling the world, Caleb? Israel itself is an integral part of the machinery of the international finance. Israel is a part of the world order called imperialism, led by the leftists, and the globalism by right-wing nationalists, in which bankers in London and the United States have absolute unchecked economic and political power. Israel is not simply an evil entity unto itself, it is part of the wider global cabal. The children of the auto workers, steel workers, firearms teachers, and middle-class Americans are now stuck in low-wage jobs and student debt. The responsible for this disaster is linked to Israel. Great deal. Excuse me. All this anti-Semitism is causing me to have a bit of a coughing fit. I mean, it's pretty telling why there are no more copies of this book available. I mean, what you always say, Caleb, read my work. Instead of judging me, you should read my work. You say it all the time, you know? I spent about 40 hours online trying to find a copy of Satan at the Fountainhead. It's starting to drive me mad that I can't find it. I mean, you should reach out to Sophie or like Mildred or anyone else who's or We're in Hell has read it or read parts of it, the online version of it. There, you know, LaRouche, more like LaDouche. Heyo. This article is at the center of a big international controversy. Notice how many Western outlets are reporting on it without linking or naming the website. It's unbelievable. Globalresearch.ca. Wow, there's another one. Thanks to Global Research. Globalresearch.ca. Thanks to the International Schiller Institute. Thanks to LaRouche.org. Man. So, yeah, Caleb Maupin, LaRouche. Yeah. this one is not a there's a loose connection because that one person spoke at the Center for Political Innovation and all that. No. And by the way, anyone who's like Caleb Maupin is deeply anti-Semitic because he says international bankers out loud, and it's just weird that he would say international banker. No, this is all all this stuff. Maupin, infamously seen below next to Alexander Dugin at a conference. Dugin was a member of the National Bolsheviks Party of Russia. He was the founder, which he left in 1988 after being denounced as a fascist by its members shortly afterwards.
How is Vosh the villain of the left when Maupin, LaRouche, and Hinkle exist?
Balthazar, thank you for the $5. I think Maupin is pretty universally reviled amongst, let's just say serious leftists, non-clown shoe leftists. I think Maupin and all these people, they exist in the gray zone kind of bubble. If your persona is like, I am anti-imperialism, America is the worst thing in the world ever. Also, I don't care much for social justice and civil rights. I don't like those things, but I want to be edgy. I want to be edgy and angry, so I'm gonna align myself with the National Bolsheviks. Here we go. Fun stuff. Fun stuff. And you are right, by the way. Al Franken played Lyndon LaRouche on Saturday Night Live. We live in an utterly bizarre timeline. Where's the Jackson Hinkle stuff? Oh, Jackson Hinkle's real association with this, outside of the fact that he was there, he's speaking about it and he's promoting all these people, and now he's deeply entrenched in this. And he's also doing this thing where he's trying to normalize Alex Jones, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Candace Owens. That's all on Hinkle, okay? That's 100% Hinklage. I'm positing, and I could be wrong on this, I'm willing to take a huge L, that I don't think he knows how deep this rabbit hole goes. I don't think he knows about Caleb Maupin and LaRouche and being so deeply entrenched with LaRouche and the anti-Semitism and all this other stuff wrapped into it. I think they all think that he's just like the one true communist, and like his friendship with Infrared, outside of all this, if they weren't these horrible people, would be adorable. Adorable. I have nothing wrong with people becoming besties, especially online, and hanging out, and you know, sharing stories and some food and beverage, all that kind of stuff. You know, that's like all lovely, all wonderful things. It's just everything else that obviously is the horrifying part. You know, I think Jackson's just found himself, because Jackson, unlike the rest of them, I don't really know Infrared's story. Right, Haas is still kind of mysterious. We don't know Haas that well yet. I'm sure we will in time. I'm sure stories will come out. But Hinkle, everyone has seen how fast he's kind of speed running his political evolution, right? It's going from like, you know, corporate Democrat to Bernie bro, to like anti-squad Jimmy Dore guy. Like Jimmy Dore's pipeline, it can be seen in real time in Jackson Hinkle. And he's already ended up at the anus of the human tankipede. So like at that edge, at the very edge where the food is being processed through multiple different people, he has now found himself entrenched with Caleb Maupin, and the Caleb Maupin still to this day is bringing in people from this think tank, the LaRouche think tank. Like, it's not as if the stuff has gone away. They like, maybe they've tried to hide it and cover it up and be like, well, I'm definitely not as deeply associated with Lyndon LaRouche and his anti-HIV campaign and his anti-Semitism anymore. That was just a phase I went through when I was much younger. But no, this shit is still real today, you know? Can Israel be criticized? Absolutely it can. Oh, I criticize it all the time. Yes, they are involved in an apartheid state right now. They are fucking doing horrifying things to Palestinians. There's a difference between criticizing the Israeli government and criticizing all Jews. And also there's a difference between criticizing the IMF, criticizing the predatory nature of banks, what they do globally. That's all true and real. That is fine. And saying that there's a global cabal of bankers that are using systems of usury, and I'm going to wrap that all in to this book when I now have very credible ties to a fucking anti-Semite in LaRouche, and all of his work as well, and put a bow on the whole project. Like, these are very separate things. And like Caleb nowadays tries to use this as a defense, right? He tries to take massive steps back and be like, oh yeah, the bread tubers, they all serve imperialism. They're all living off their Soros dollars. person getting their CIA checks, and all of them say that I'm an anti-Semite because I have the courage to call out the bankers. I have the courage to do that. And like I've seen him on Peter Coffin's show where he says and tries to like do this like wink thing where they're all like, yeah, and apparently you're an anti-Semite because you call out the IMF. Yeah, apparently. No, you're an anti-Semite for very well documented reasons here.
Roasted tomato soup with sun-dried tomato pesto and Emmental grilled cheese? Pick related.
Oh, thank you for the $5. That sounds delicious. Now I want soup. Good soup. But fucking free Palestine. You know, fuck what the Israeli government is doing to them. That's horrifying. It should be called out. Yeah, there's huge differences between the two. Like, and people should be able to identify that. That's why some of the worst things, because I don't think they hold actual power, but some of the worst stuff the clown shoes left does, and that includes the Grey Zone, the Max Blumenthals, the Aaron Mateys, all of that, is that they take things that are factual that people are going to look at and pull people in, because it's like, hey, by the way, this bad, and everyone can, like, who is a leftist can agree, yes, that is bad. And then all of a sudden they'll take that and also pepper in a lot of conspiracy theory shit, because they don't know when to turn that valve off. And then in the case of Caleb Maupin, you'll have people who hang out with Alexander Dugin, the National Bolsheviks Party. You've got Infrared, who's consistently talking about Alexander Dugin and saying him and his writing is not fascist, he's misunderstood, he's just a controversial conservative figure, things like that, right? Like that is the danger in the normalization of people like Lyndon LaRouche, of people like Alexander Dugin, and pulling in what would be otherwise potential leftists or people who are just on the outskirts. Because like I get why Infrared is popular. He's very, very entertaining as a personality. He's entertaining for me to laugh at in the same way like I find Alex Jones entertaining. But Alex Jones is horrifying and a massive transphobe and also a whole host of other things. Like Alex Jones is such a bad, problematic figure. And to be fair, has not reached those levels or anywhere close to them in terms of his like messaging and stuff. But therein lies the problem. Because people who are like, hey, by the way, I'm a leftist. I'm interested in leftist ideas. You know, I'm in opposition to these wars and the imperialism of the U.S., which is the worst form of it right now in terms of the global scale. There's no question. The U.S., it has like 600 to 800 military bases globally, right? The world currency is controlled by the United States. It is the dollar, like all this kind of stuff. Yes, the United States is the big bad guy, right? But so you pull people in with that. They start reading a couple of these Grey Zone articles. They start going through some of these links and they start thinking, well, it turns out not only was America bad, but everything else awesome. I didn't know that. I didn't know that China was infallible. I didn't know that Russia was infallible. I didn't know that there's these alternatives to the U.S. hegemony. And what we need to do is we need to promote and uplift the alternative and create a new world of multipolarity where there are like powerful figures that can destroy the United States. Yes, I'm understanding this now. We need to destroy the United States. And I guess I'll be one of the ones that doesn't get caught in the crossfire. I'll know exactly when to announce that I was on your side. I think that's how this is going to play out, right? You know, some massive global war, and then at the last possible minute, I'll be like, oh, I'm on your team. I'm the one real communist. Yes, because you're definitely in communism. Yeah, here we go. You know, that's it. That's rant.
Do you enjoy the Serfs but prefer not to have to use your eyeballs? Many are saying this. Well, we've got the solution for you. It's the Serf Times in podcast form, available on most major podcasting networks now. If you enjoy it, please consider leaving a good review and feedback because it really helps the show out, apparently, and it's free, just like the podcast.
To our gods, Xander Corvus and Peyton L. Just, we are prepared to conduct many a human sacrifices in your honor. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, we are but your humble yet incompetent jesters, trying in vain to bring some levity into your life. To our Lord, Trevor R., we give you thanks for this meager plot of land for us to toil away our pathetic existence. To our brave knights, Carl Wauer, Tony, D.M. Rivera, Resident Scarecrow, Sir Nickus, Mayred, Cheryl Alvarez, Reuben Kelly, Brandon, Words Greenwood, Nate, Hegbert Celine, Matthew Scarborough, Stellar Vision, Ariane McCarthy, Daniel Sutton, Coulter Smith, Jenna Tal, Quiet 185, Anna Loves Riley, Omni, Riley and Anna, Poodlehawk, The Tim Caucus, Multimondi, Trevor Janis, Lemmy 101, Anthropophojack, Saren 42, Catherine, Ramon Acosta, Nkosin, Agent NDN, Violent Orchard, Political Puppy, Andreas Chiringuito, Zach Christensen, Todd Buckingham, and Todd Lajeunesse. We salute our mighty heroes off to conquest some bread in some far-off land.